All right, we're back. I'm going to briefly give my opinion on this Stephen Clark issue on why his comments really shouldn't bother you. I tried to look for the past few minutes. I couldn't find what he said. I heard, that he only dated white or Asian women. He didn't like dark skinned girls or something like that. So I'm just going to take the worst of the worst. I'm going to assume even if he hated black women or whatever. So the message still stays the same. Now, to me, this shows the hypocrisy of a lot of things in the black community, and it shows our lack of true depth. It shows our lack of empathy. It shows our lack of depth of really understanding white supremacy and how it operates. Now, where should I begin? First of all, let me preface by saying I'm for black relationships, black couples, more than us dating outside of our race and different things like that. So this is in no way like me defending him for, as far as in that regard. I do, feel that we need to, restore black families, black generational wealth, different things like that. So let me preface by saying that. Now, to me, it's just ironic how we're all so woke, we're all so knowledgeable, and all this information on the history of white supremacy and how stuff is in the food, fluoride is in the water, and the brainwashing, and all of these millions of memes that come out. And it just shows how reactionary we really are and don't really think. Like, how can we talk? And I bring this up a lot in personal conversations, but how in the hell can we say that white supremacy exists, and then when people act out, like when people become a byproduct of white supremacy, we blame them? So if someone is hating another black person, then where did they learn that hate from? That doesn't really, because it's different. Like, even if you want to break it down to like a tribal issue, like in Africa, there's different tribes. You can say, well, different tribes might hate each other and different things like that for whatever reason. That's their own differences and prejudices. And I'm just saying that to say how people that are amongst each other, they may find a way to not like each other for whatever weird reason. That's just how people are. But to not like a group, like an entire class, an entire shade of women, do you think that's something that he came up with on his own, or do you think that was drilled into his head, that was implemented into his head through media, through music, through rap videos? Or do you think he just was born that way? I mean, use common sense. Do you think he was born not hating dark-skinned women, or do you think that is a strategy of white supremacy that causes division? So, and let me sidetrack too. Also, it's just very respectful to the family that's grieving, and his sister spoke, and his brother is showing up to City Hall and just trying to keep the spotlight on this issue, and they're still grieving. So even if you disagree with his stance, the family is still grieving. You should still want justice for the family, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, how in the hell are we so woke and so knowledgeable, but we still lack that empathy? And this is I think an issue, and this is why a lot of issues like you see on this channel, we cover, like you have to cover everything. You can't just say, well, if this person isn't woke, it's not going to, then we don't really care about them. And that's what a lot of things that this happens a lot in the quote unquote conscious community. It's like, if you don't think this way, then you're this person and we can't mess with you. If you don't think this way, you're this person and we can't mess with you. And we have to find a fine line, like a boundary between, okay, this person is for the upliftment of us. At the same time, we just have differences of opinion, and we have to learn how to agree to disagree. And it's like the internet has made it where we want to get on the keyboard and the computer and voice our opinions that a lot of people are scared to voice in real life, or, you know, they want to do it behind a fake avatar or something. And it's just unloading and venting all this pent up energy when really everybody is going to agree. You should be afraid of someone that agrees with you all the time. And if you want to be around agreeable people all the time, that shows maybe you have a certain level of insecurity or a lower self-esteem or something like that. So you should want to be challenged. You should want your ideas challenged. You should want your thinking challenged. So you cannot fault someone for, I mean, I'm not saying you can't feel a certain way about it. I'm not saying I liked his comments or I would have thumbs up or gave it a heart, you know, his comments on dark-skinned women, but I'm not going to pretend like he came up with that on his own. He did not come up with that thought on his own. He did not come up with that discrimination on his own. Because I think when you look at interracial dating in couples, it's like, and even online, it's like white men prefer dark-skinned women. It's like the darker, the better, the more exotic, you know, for whatever fetish or fantasy that they may have. So is it a coincidence that they're promoting black men to like lighter women, while in reality they're going with darker women? You know, the darker the better for them. So you have to look at that. So it's just, I just want to give a word of caution to people that when you see these comments, you can't really be surprised. I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm not saying you can't feel a certain way. But again, are you not going to forgive him for, he didn't come up with this comment on his own? It's just really ridiculous to think that someone is born hating dark-skinned women. This is programmed into us by white supremacy, by the media, by rap music. It's not debatable or nothing. I mean, if we are woke, if we're saying that there's a mass media propaganda, if we're saying that they want to cause a division within the black family unit, and when people believe it and it goes into their subconscious and they don't date black men or they don't date black women, are you surprised? How can you be surprised? You can't be surprised. So I think when the people that are saying like, oh, well, I don't like his family, or this, I don't like him and I don't care about him getting shot. Well, it really exposes how much these issues really resonate with you, or, you know, it shows that they may not resonate with you, because injustice is injustice. We understand injustice happens to those in the black community at a higher rate, but you can't have a bias. Like, you can't say, well, this person didn't like this and I don't like it. And that's a real big problem in this generation, where people cannot accept that people have different tastes and different likes. And some of those likes and tastes may be programmed by society, by mass media, and some of it just may be genetic, some of it just may be what you like. So if we allow, you know, if you allow this to happen, as far as not speak up about it or voice your displeasure, then what's going to happen? Are you saying it's okay for cops to shoot black men that are in interracial relationships? And then is that going to make it okay for cops to, start killing mixed children? And I mean, where does this road lead us to? Like, what is the point in? I'm not saying you can't like it. I'm not asking you to like it. I'm just saying, what is the point? What is the point if and it's mostly coming from women. Men are saying this too, but I haven't watched any videos. I'm just, when I typed in to try and look for his comments, I couldn't find them, but I've seen a lot of videos from women saying they didn't like it and they weren't going to support the family because he wants support from black women. And I understand that, but isn't that what makes a woman nurturing and forgiving, and isn't that real strength? Isn't that what gives a woman her true strength in a lot of instances where they can be forgiving because that they have that ability with their son, you know what I mean, with their children, but maybe, especially with their son, like they forgive them. He's always mama's little baby, no matter what. So women have that instinct nature to nurture and forgive. So when Stephan Clark gets shot and he says he doesn't like black women, are you cutting off that? Like, how do you deal with that? I would like to know. Like, are you cutting off that emotional vulnerability? Are you hiding it? And, how does that feel? What is the point of that? Just be honest with yourself and be genuine. We didn't like the comments, but again, the family is still grieving. The brother, they're protesting. Like, this stuff is not, like, you see this stuff, but, we have videos with the Tamir Rice protests, different marches and protests and visuals and different things like that. Like, if you've never been affected by it, if you've never marched and protested and, went to City Hall, different things like that, like, a lot of you people probably have never done that. All of those things. And that's not like, it's not easy to just get up and do that. It is easy to get up and do it, but I'm saying like on a consistent basis, because you're not really going to get the support that you really need. Like when you go to City Hall, unless you can get a group of people to consistently go, you'll see it'll be pretty much, empty as far as people that feel the same about issues that you're trying to resolve. So again, it's like in protesting, it's a lot of walking, you're yelling. I know that's in Sacramento and it might not be that cold as it is here, but I'm just saying in general, these things, we take it for granted, like, oh, we can see it and click on it and watch the video, but it's not a movie. It's not a script. Like, this is real life. It's actual time. It's actual. We don't know what the police are going to do. They said the police just hit someone at one of the protests on Sunday or something, or Saturday night. So you never know what's going to happen. Anti-protesters show up. People have, gotten shot. I think it was in Ferguson or St. Louis at a protest. So you put yourself in a very vulnerable position just to, create attention and create change on these issues. And you have people want to run you over and say you're blocking traffic and different things like that. So there's all kinds of resistance you're going to face. It's not just like, oh, I'm walking, I have a cup of coffee and I'm going to go protest today. And no, like this is real life, man. Like, so I just want people to be mindful. And, nobody's perfect. I'm far from perfect, but I'm just saying we have to be mindful of when people are grieving, especially. And, the comments that we make. And if that's how you really feel, then, that's how you really feel. I'm just saying for people that are open to a different interpretation on how we should respond in the near future. If someone says, they have because colorism and skin color, I mean, we know that's a big issue in the community. So it's no surprise. And that has always been an issue, but we understand, it can go back to slavery with the house Negro and the field Negro, different things like that. So you should, I'm just basically, long story short, it's a reminder that this is by design. And you may not want to look at it with sympathy because he said he didn't like dark-skinned women, but he was not born not liking dark-skinned women. His family, I'm sure he has members of his family that are that color. So it's just really a common sense kind of thing. But again, when we are reactionary and get caught up in the moment and are reactionary, then we're going to respond with hate and say, well, if he don't like us, then we don't like him, instead of saying we understand white supremacy. We understand that this is ingrained and drilled into our heads by media and propaganda to not like ourselves. So we should not, we have to, it's really annoying that we are still reacting in this manner when someone says these things. Like, if Stacey Dash or someone says, they don't like black people, are we really surprised? I mean, it's like, yeah, we can speak about it, but in this situation, his family is grieving. To say you don't want to support the family it's just disrespectful to him. Now, if you make a video like this and say, well, you feel bad for his family, you don't like his comments, but you understand his comments come from an ignorant place. And I think that's the narrative that we need to have with his comments, with his, killing and stuff. We need to show family support, because when you're out there protesting, you're by yourself and you're in a vulnerable position. You're outnumbered. You can, like I said, anti-protesters, people have been shot, someone got ran over, anything can happen. And so it's like the black community can say, well, we don't like your comments, but we're still with the family, to say the least. And we understand his comments were ignorant, but we still support the family, because it's like you don't have no support from the system. You don't have no support from the black community. You don't have no support from white people. And you don't have, like, where is the support? And you're just here grieving. And you put yourself in these, in his brother's shoes. It's like, well, damn, what if he likes black women? What if he don't like white women and prefers black women? Then he's like, well, I'm still black. My family's black. I have to raise my brother's children and different things like that. So what do you think? He married an Asian. He had children with the Asian women. Do you think they're going to learn Chinese, or do you think his kids are going to learn about black culture? So, like I said, we have to think before we react, and think more thoroughly. Because if you think about what the family is against, they're most likely not going to get justice. They have to hear about this shooting for the rest of their lives. They have to continuously hear about this every day, probably forever. Not every day forever, but, it's going to be heard about forever. And, the black community should be the last community to turn on him and his family for something that white supremacy ingrained and drilled into the minds of black men through rap videos, through media, manipulation and different things like that, movies and Hollywood and house Negro, field Negro, whatever it is, that it goes back to. So let me know what you think. Share the video. How do you feel? Do you, if you don't like the comments, do you have it within yourself? If you don't like the comments he made, do you have the heart to forgive him and still recognize the bigger picture, that there's injustice, that, another black man was killed, meaning there's another black family that doesn't have a father, another black mother that doesn't have a son, another black sister that doesn't have a brother, another brother that doesn't have a brother, another, and it was at his grandma's house. So another grandparent that doesn't have a grandson. So, generally you're supposed to outlive your grandparents. And we see that this didn't happen. So just really, let's use our wokeness and our consciousness that we love to claim to have and so much knowledge, and let's really put it into use and show the family, some support that we understand the situation. So those are my 3 videos for today, and I put out a video last night. So there's more than enough content for you to bite and chew on. And tomorrow I'm going to release the videos on from the radio show from Sunday. The Republicans, they invaded the show for 2 hours, so you can scroll down the timeline. Make sure you click on notifications to get always notified when I go live and when I post something, because people were saying, why haven't I been posting stuff? And I post things every day generally. So people are saying a couple weeks or something went by, they didn't see any posts. But Facebook has changed the algorithm to you only see things from your friends and family before like a business page, different things like that. So